So the SPLC around the year 2000 is when they start their third iteration. They had run out of clan groups, they ran out of grand dragons to conquer, and they started putting mainstream conservative and Christian organizations on their hate map with chapters of the Ku Klux Klan. And they say that this hate map shows the infrastructure upholding white supremacy in the United States of America.
So this SPLC, which stands for Southern Poverty Law Center, is a website that posts all what they call is hate groups, and they have a map with red spots showing the hate group areas, and they got Turning Point on there. And if you look into Turning Point and what they stand for, it's not a hate group at all. And also, you'll see that he's talking about they're talking about Christians in hate groups. Why is Christians a part of a hate group? Why do they have that as a hate group? And this is some really good information, and you can think about it that, you know, the Charlie Kirk show, they could be sharing all kinds of conspiracies that's been thrown on the internet, on social media sites, but they're putting this one out because this one is making some good points. So Tyler O'Neill, he put that book out, and it's really good information. So this is something I'm just now learning about, but it seems really interesting, and I think it's a possible problem. I'm not saying I fully believe that this is the, you know, behind any of the killings, but it definitely seems fishy. Check this out. See what y'all think about it.
As the name suggests, it began as a public interest civil rights law firm that represented poor people in the South. And back in the day, it believed in representing everyone. So it actually had a reverse racism case representing white men who had been discriminated against in a majority black employment opportunity. So, you know, this was a noble organization. But the leader of that organization, the main fundraiser, Morris Dees, he started realizing that he could make the most amount of money by going after the Ku Klux Klan. And this is, you know, let me be clear, the Klan is evil incarnate in my mind. I mean, they are the quintessential hate group in American history. And so every time that the SPLC sued a Klan group into bankruptcy, I think that's a win for America. But what we see in the 1980s is that this is the thing that got the SPLC attention and money. And we actually had the legal team at the SPLC quit en masse because they had signed up to work at the SPLC to represent poor people in the South, not to go hunting Klan groups. And all the lawsuits involving the Klan, they said, were like shooting fish in a barrel. They were also disturbed by the fact that the SPLC was starting to develop ties with law enforcement, that they were guiding law enforcement to find people who were, you know, at the time, you know, real racist threats. But eventually, you know, the SPLC created those ties to law enforcement that would later become what we saw horrifically in the Biden years and even before that to some degree. So the SPLC around the year 2000 is when they start their third iteration. They had run out of clan groups, they ran out of grand dragons to conquer, and they started putting mainstream conservative and Christian organizations on their hate map with chapters of the Ku Klux Klan. And they say that this hate map shows the infrastructure upholding white supremacy in the United States of America. So make no mistake, if you are the Family Research Council, if you are Alliance Defending Freedom, if you are, you know, the Federation for American Immigration Reform, and they put you on that hate map, they are comparing you to the Klan, saying you are a violent force of hate that needs to be monitored by law enforcement, that needs to be cut off from polite society. And the SPLC takes this hate map, goes to big tech, goes to corporations, says, you need to use this to blacklist people, goes to the charitable sector, says, you need to blacklist people on this. So one of the things that really drew my attention to the SPLC was in 2012, when a terrorist targeted the Family Research Council in
Yes.
Washington, D.C., They're a conservative Christian nonprofit. This guy showed up there. He used the SPLC Hatemap to find them. He had a semi-automatic pistol and a bag of Chick-fil-A sandwiches. And he told the FBI he planned to shoot everyone in the building and smear a Chick-fil-A sandwich in their faces. And the SPLC rightly, condemned the attack, but the SPLC hasn't taken the Family Research Council off their hate map. And if anything, the SPLC has gotten far worse. So, as you put up there on the screen rightly, the SPLC added Turning Point USA to the hate map earlier this year. And I was the first one to realize that and break the story on X and on the Daily Signal. But, this is when they're putting the largest conservative grassroots youth organization on a map with chapters of the Klan. This is so far off the reservation. You can't make this up. And yet, we saw just a couple months later a man allegedly opening fire and murdering Charlie Kirk in cold blood. And we don't know if he was at all inspired by the SPLC, but it really looks like the SPLC's hate map is to some degree a kill list. And this isn't the first time, this isn't even the second time the SPLC has been tied to political terrorism. It also happened in 2017 when that man opened fire, nearly killed Steve Scalise at the congressional baseball game practice. And he had liked the SPLC on Facebook. Now, every time this sort of thing happens, the SPLC says, we condemn political violence, we condemn political violence. I'm sorry, they need to put their money where their mouth is and have at least one modicum of actually doing something and taking Turning Point USA off the hate map. They need to scrap it entirely, but I've been asking directly, specifically, one specific ask, and they can't do that.
Well, no, I appreciate you keeping such an eye on this. You've been exceptional in your focus and in just holding them to account. But I think we need much more than just taking Turning Point off a list at this point. I completely agree. I posted last night on X that their hate list was really just a hit list, and Elon Musk, I guess, is quote tweeted it, which good for him. And he's been excellent on this, ADL and SPLC. And at some point, it stops mattering, Tyler, if these people were directly motivated by something they saw in the SPLC. It creates an ecosystem of political violence.
Also, I wanted to show right here Elon Musk on his X page that he's sharing the SPLC hate list is really a hit list, and that's from Andrew Colvett. He shared it and he confirmed it with yes, and even Kashpatel said he cut all ties to Southern Poverty Law Center. It said the Southern Poverty Law Center long ago abandoned civil rights work and turned into a partisan smear machine. Their so-called hate map has been used to defame mainstream Americans and even inspired violence. That disgraceful record makes them unfit for any FBI partnership. And you can check some of that stuff out. But anyways, this is really interesting right here. There's got to be something behind all of this. So I wanted to share that with it too.